The car hit the concrete barrier at 70 miles per hour. Glass exploded everywhere. The steering wheel caved inward. And inside that twisted metal, Marcus Cole, one of the wealthiest men in the country, lay with blood running down the side of his face, completely still. 3 weeks later, he opened his eyes. The ceiling was white. The room was quiet. And sitting in the chair beside his bed, with dark circles under her eyes and a rosary wrapped around her fingers, was Clara, his housekeeper. She had not gone home in 4 days. The doctors called it selective retrograde amnesia. His brain had taken a hard blow and decided to protect itself by locking away certain memories. His business deals were gone. His board meetings, his corporate strategies, his investment portfolio, all wiped clean. Even his own face in the mirror felt like a stranger looking back at him. But when he turned his head slowly on that hospital pillow and saw Clara sitting there, something in his chest settled, like a fire that had almost gone out, catching one last breath of air. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice rough and dry. She looked up fast, her eyes going wide. She stood and leaned over him carefully. "Marcus, it's me. It's Clara." He stared at her for a long moment. "Are you my wife?" Her face went still. "No," she said quietly. "I work for you. I take care of your house." He looked at her hands, then at her face, then at the way she was gripping the rail of his bed like she was afraid he would disappear again. "Then why are you here?" he asked. She took a breath. "Because there was nobody else." His family arrived 2 hours later. His older brother, Raymond, came in first, with a tailored suit and a firm handshake for the doctor. His mother, Diana, swept in behind him with expensive perfume and a look on her face that said she was already calculating what needed to be handled. Neither of them had been at the hospital the night of the accident. Raymond had been in Geneva. Diana had been at a fundraising gala. It was Clara who had ridden in the ambulance, a Clara who had signed the emergency forms, Clara who had sat alone in that waiting room at 2 in the morning and prayed. Raymond looked at Clara standing near the window and gave her a polite nod. "You can go now. We'll take it from here." Clara looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at her. "I want her to stay," he said simply. Raymond blinked. "Marcus, she's the help." "She's the only person in this room I recognize," Marcus said, and the room went so quiet you could hear the heart monitor beeping in the corner. They brought him home 10 days later. His estate was enormous. 12 rooms, manicured gardens, a home office the size of a small apartment. Clara walked him through it slowly, telling him where things were, what belonged to him, who had sent the get-well flowers now arranged on the entrance table. He listened carefully, asking questions about small things, not about his company, not about his money. He asked what kind of tea he usually drank in the mornings. He asked if the dog in the photograph on the mantel was still alive. He asked why the 4th step on the staircase made a sound when you stepped on it. "You always said you'd fix it," Clara told him. But you never did." "Why not?" She smiled a little. "Because you were always busy with things that felt more important." He looked at the step, then back at her. "That seems like a mistake." She did not say anything to that, but something in her expression shifted, just for a second, before she looked away. If you're already feeling this story, go ahead and hit that like button right now. We're just getting started, and it only gets deeper from here. Over the following days, a strange new life took shape inside that house. Marcus had no interest in the business briefings Raymond kept trying to schedule. He had no memory of caring about quarterly earnings or shareholder meetings, so he felt nothing when those things were mentioned. What he did feel was the morning quiet, the smell of breakfast, the sound of Clara moving through the kitchen before anyone else was awake. He started coming downstairs earlier just to sit at the counter while she cooked. At first, she was uncomfortable with it. She would try to maintain the distance that the job required, calling him Mr. Cole, keeping her responses short and professional. But Marcus had no memory of those rules. To him, she was just the one person who made sense. "You don't have to call me that," he told her one morning. "It's respectful," she said, not looking up from the stove. "It's distant," he replied. "And I don't understand why we need to be distant." She turned to look at him then, with a spatula in her hand and a complicated expression on her face. "Because of what I am to you. What are you to me?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned back to the stove. "Breakfast is almost ready," she said softly. Raymond was watching all of this. He saw the way his brother followed Clara's voice when she spoke in another room. He noticed that Marcus had started asking the household staff to leave certain decisions to Clara. He noticed that Marcus laughed differently when she was nearby. Easier, more real. And Raymond did not like it. Not because he cared about his brother's heart, but because Marcus had not yet remembered the thing that mattered most. The document he had signed 3 days before the accident. The one that, if Marcus ever recovered his full memory and examined it closely, would unravel everything Raymond had been quietly building behind his back. Raymond had 2 options. Either help Marcus recover his memory on Raymond's terms, steering him carefully away from certain truths, or eliminate the one person Marcus trusted completely, the one person who might accidentally say the wrong thing at the wrong time. He called Clara into his study on a Thursday afternoon. He sat behind the large mahogany desk the way men sit when they want you to feel small. "I'd like to offer you a very generous severance package," he said, folding his hands on the desk. 6 months' salary, excellent references, effective immediately. Clara stood very still. "Does Marcus know about this?" "Marcus is unwell. I'm managing the household in his interest." "With respect," she said, "I'd like to hear that from him." Raymond's expression did not change, but his eyes went cold. "You're making a mistake, Clara." "Maybe," she said, "but it's mine to make." She went straight to Marcus. He was in the garden, trying to remember the name of a flower that kept catching his attention. She sat down next to him on the bench and told him everything Raymond had said. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, the silence between them was thick. "Do you want to leave?" he asked. "No," she said, then quickly added, "But I understand if things are complicated, and you need—" "Clara." He said her name like a full sentence. "Do you want to leave?" She looked at him, really looked at him, and something in her broke open just a little. "No," she said again, softer this time. "Then stay," he said, and that was the end of it. But Raymond was not finished. He hired someone to go through the house, not to steal anything, to find something. Specifically, he was looking for a small leather journal that Marcus kept in his nightstand, a personal record he had kept for years. Raymond needed to know what was in it, because if Marcus had written anything about the document before the accident, anything at all, it could be used against him. What Raymond did not know was that Clara had already found the journal when she was cleaning the room after Marcus came home from the hospital. She had not read it. That was not who she was, but she had noticed the initials on the cover and placed it in the drawer with care. When the man Raymond hired came through the house that Friday afternoon, claiming to be a maintenance worker, Clara was the one who let him in. And Clara was the one who noticed, 40 minutes later, that the drawer beside Marcus's bed was open. She went to Marcus immediately. "Someone was in your room," she said. I think they were looking for something." Marcus stood up slowly. The fog in his mind that had been lifting gradually these past weeks seemed to clear a little more. "What kind of something?" "Your journal is still there," she said. "They didn't take it. Maybe they didn't find it in time." He walked upstairs, sat on the edge of his bed, picked up the journal, and held it in both hands. He opened it slowly. His own handwriting looked back at him, and for a long moment it was like reading the words of a stranger. But as his eyes moved down the pages, something began to pull. A thread, a feeling, a memory trying to surface from somewhere deep. He turned to an entry dated 4 days before the accident. His hand tightened on the journal. He read it twice. Then he sat completely still for a very long time. "Don't go anywhere. I'd subscribe right now if you haven't already, because this ending is the part nobody sees coming." He came downstairs an hour later with the journal in his hand and a look on his face Clara had never seen before. Not the soft, slightly lost expression she had grown used to over these weeks. This was different, clearer, harder around the edges, like someone who has just remembered who they are. "I need you to tell me something," he said, standing in the kitchen doorway. "And I need the truth." "I always give you the truth," she said quietly. "In the journal, I wrote about a document, a transfer of shares. I wrote that I was suspicious of Raymond, that I had asked my lawyer to look into something before I signed." He paused. "Did anyone come to the house in those last days? Before the accident? A lawyer? An assistant?" Clara thought carefully. "A man came 2 days before. He said he was from your legal team. You met with him in the office for about an hour. When he left, you looked upset." Marcus closed his eyes briefly. "I remember," he said, and his voice was different when he said it. Lower, more grounded. "I remember the meeting." Clara set down the dish towel. Her heart was beating fast. "Marcus, he was not from my legal team," Marcus said. "He was Raymond's man, and I signed something I should not have signed." He looked at her directly. "Clara, because of you staying, because of what you said to Raymond, because you told me about the man in my room, I still have the journal. I still have the proof of what I was thinking before that accident. And now I remember why it mattered." She did not know what to say, so she said the most honest thing she could. "I just didn't want to leave you with people who don't actually see you." The room was very quiet. Marcus walked toward her slowly and stopped just a few feet away. "Before the accident," he said, "did you know I had feelings for you?" Her breath caught. "I suspected," she said, "but you never said anything." "I was afraid," he said simply. "I thought the distance between what I am and what you are was too large." "And now?" she asked. "Now I almost died," he said, "and the only person who stayed was you. I think the distance was always in my head." She looked at him for a long moment. There were so many things she could have said. About the lines between employer and employee, about how the world would look at them, about all the practical, sensible reasons this was complicated. But what she said was this: "You have a lot of things to fix, Marcus. A brother who betrayed you, a company that needs you back, a whole memory still putting itself together." "I know," he said. "Fix those things first," she said. "And if you still feel this way when the dust settles—" She stopped, took a breath. "We'll talk." He nodded slowly. Then, almost to himself, he said, "I'm also going to fix that step on the staircase." and for the first time in weeks, she laughed. Really laughed. Bright and warm and completely unguarded. And Marcus Cole, who had lost his memory and nearly lost his life, stood in his kitchen listening to that sound like it was the most important thing he had heard in years. Because it was. Raymond was removed from the board 6 weeks later. The fraudulent share transfer was reversed. Marcus resumed control of his company with sharper instincts than before, as if the accident had stripped away everything unnecessary and left only what was real. He restructured his leadership team. He slept better. He fixed the staircase step on a quiet Saturday morning, and when Clara heard the sound of the creaking stop for the first time, she stood at the top of the stairs and smiled down at him. "You finally did it," she said. He looked up at her with a hammer in his hand and something steady and certain in his eyes. "I told you. I just needed to stop being busy with things that felt more important." She came down the stairs slowly, one step at a time, until she was standing in front of him, and the distance between them, that old invisible wall that the world had built and they had both respected for so long, was simply gone. Oh, sometimes it takes losing everything, your memory, your safety, your carefully constructed life, to finally see what was right there all along. Not in a boardroom, not in a portfolio, but in a quiet kitchen at 6 in the morning, in the hands of someone who stayed when everyone else had somewhere better to be. If this story moved you at all, please like this video right now. Leave a comment and tell me, what moment hit you the hardest? And if you want more stories like this one, subscribe and hit the bell. There is so much more coming, and you do not want to miss a single one.